Welcome to Missing Chronicles, where we delve into the heartbreaking and enigmatic mysteries surrounding disappearances. Here, we will immerse ourselves in the world of unsolved cases, thrilling search efforts, and intricate journeys. The goal of this channel is to spread awareness, foster community connections, and provide support to the families and loved ones of the missing. Join me as we embark on a suspenseful journey, hoping to uncover the truth behind these missing chronicles. Help us sustain and grow Missing Chronicles by becoming a patron on Patreon. Your contribution ensures that we can continue our investigations, share compelling stories, and work towards a world where no one is forgotten. Join us in making a lasting impact today. The vanishing of Anjikuni Lake, an entire village disappears without a trace. On this channel, we extensively cover numerous mysterious disappearances, each one possessing a peculiar and strange nature. However, what if an entire village vanishes without a sensible explanation? Not just one person or a group of people, but the entire village, gone without a trace. How could such an event occur? When dealing with an individual or a few people, there is always the possibility of a human element involved, such as accidents or abductions. But what could explain the sudden disappearance of an entire town? Who or what could be held accountable for the perplexing absence of an entire community? While we may not possess the precise or correct answers, we cannot dismiss these extraordinary and unusual events as if they never occurred. Today, we bring you the peculiar case of the vanishing of the entire village of Anjikuni Lake. On a freezing cold November night in 1930, Joe LaBelle, a Canadian fur trapper, sought shelter in a local village where he had stopped before. This village, Anjikuni Village, situated at the shore of Anjikuni Lake in Kivalliq Region, Nunavut, Canada, was expected to offer the comforting aroma of hot meals and the friendly faces of its residents. In his previous visits, Joe estimated that there were around 2,000 to 2,500 residents living there. He frequented local shops, eateries, and built relationships with the people residing there. It was a warm and welcoming village, and Joe eagerly anticipated a short break there. However, upon entering the village, Joe sensed something was amiss. There was no sign of activity, no sounds or smells, and most notably, there were no people. The usual warm welcome and invitations to dine were absent. The town appeared motionless and silent, devoid of its usual busyness. Joe decided to investigate further and entered several huts, each well stocked with provisions, including food supplies, clothing, bathing essentials, and recreational materials for children. The rifles of the men were still leaned against the doors of their homes, just as they usually were. Everything seemed normal except for the fact that the town was completely devoid of inhabitants. More perplexing than everything he had witnessed was the discovery of pots of food left untouched over extinguished fires. It seemed as though the women of the homes were preparing supper for their families when something happened to interrupt them. The kayaks were still present behind each home, indicating that the entire town hadn't embarked on a collective trip. Yet, even if they had, it would have provided some explanation for the strange situation. Where were the residents, and how long had they been missing? There were no footprints in the snow, aside from Joe's own, to indicate where the Inuits had gone. The scene before Joe was devoid of clues and lacked any logical explanation. In a state of shock and uncertainty, Joe sought help by sending a message to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, through the nearest telegraph office. The police arrived and conducted their own thorough search of the village. What they discovered during their investigation was not only bizarre and shocking, but also horrifying. Every single grave in the village's burial site was empty. There was no trace of the corpses or their whereabouts. Witnesses who came forward during the investigation reported that the ground around the graves was frozen solid. Additionally, the marker stones were neatly stacked in 2 piles beside the graves, indicating that this was not the work of animals. Outside the town limits, the police found 7 sled dogs buried under the snow, having perished from starvation. The presence of huts filled with food raised the question of why these dogs, essential to the Inuits' livelihood, were left to starve. If it wasn't intentional, then what truly happened? Numerous subsequent investigations were carried out, but they yielded limited evidence. The only significant clue came from a conversation between the Mounties and a man named Armand Laurent and his two sons, who mentioned witnessing a strange flying object soaring across the sky a couple of months prior. They described the object transforming from a cylinder into a bullet-like shape and flying in the direction of Anjikuni village. Officers at the scene also reported witnessing unusual bluish lights pulsating above the village on the horizon. They observed these lights until they vanished, mirroring the disappearance of the Inuits. When questioned, the officers who saw these lights were dismissed as merely witnessing the aurora borealis. The investigative teams at that time, although not as advanced as modern forensics, reported that the town had been abandoned 2 months prior to Joe Lebel's encounter. This raised the question of how the food was still burning and why the fire had extinguished on its own. It seemed as if the food had been abandoned while cooking, without anyone tending to it. If the entire village had been missing for 2 months, who or what had been cooking over their stoves? No trace of the Inuits was ever found. Joe Lebel later recounted this horrifying experience to reporters, stating that he immediately sensed that something was wrong. The half-cooked dishes indicated an interruption during dinner preparation. He also noted the presence of rifles, as no Eskimo would go anywhere without one. Joe understood that something terrible had occurred. Despite skeptics questioning Joe's familiarity with the area or the village's population, the documented evidence confirmed the initial reports: the Aniyuki village was deserted. With clothes in the homes and cold food hanging over extinguished fires, to this day, there are no updates on what happened to the Inuits of Anjikuni village, although numerous theories have been proposed. No factual documents or scientific evidence definitively explain the fate of these villagers. Therefore, we invite you to share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Let's maintain a friendly and respectful discussion. Thank you, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you for watching Missing Chronicles. We have explored captivating stories and searched for answers behind the vanished. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay updated with our latest videos. Share these videos to spread the message and assist affected families and loved ones. If you have any information related to the cases we've discussed, please leave them in the comments section. Together, we can make a difference. See you in the next Missing Chronicles.